Coming up, meet 19-year-old Ashley Blaine. She flies Blackhawks and Chinooks as an aerial firefighter.
Plus, a record-setting flight in an electric airplane and a conversation with country music star and pilot Nick Hoffman.
Flying the last Medal of Honor recipient from the Pacific Theater as he continues to serve. AOPA Live this week begins in just a moment.
See what others can't. Virtual 360 camera and the Audi Q7.
This is AOPA Live This Week with Tom Haines and Alyssa Cobb.
Millions of acres burned, homes destroyed, lives lost. Wildfires continue to cause devastation in California, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. The smoke from the fires is so intense, it's visible here on the East Coast.
On the front lines, thousands of firefighters are battling the blazes from the ground and the air. And these brave men and women play essential roles, flying a variety of aircraft, dropping water and fire retardant. Now, AOPA's Senior Manager of Public Affairs, Jennifer Nahn, has the story about one of these firefighting pilots.
19-year-old Ashley Blaine is extraordinary. She flies Blackhawks and Chinooks as an aerial firefighter, continuing a family tradition.
I'm a very lucky case. My dad and uncle co-own a company called Billings Flying Service. My dad actually taught me to fly. I started out in a Super Cub, kind of simultaneously a Super Cub and gliders. Had my first glider lesson, and from there it was like, this is what I've got to do. And I switched over into fixed wing and then into helicopters, and been doing it ever since. And it really sparked something in me. I don't know what, that made me love it.
Ashley recently flew with her dad to help fight the SCU Lightning Complex fire in California.
Obviously, these fires can be very traumatic for a lot of people. They lose their, their homes, their pets, their family members. It's just a horrible situation for everybody to be in. Oftentimes, you'll be driving into the fires every day, and there will be signs along the road that said, thank you to firefighters. And it's nice to know that, even though there's not much we can do to help, we're doing everything that is in our power to help.
Ashley is type rated in the Black Hawk and plans to work on her Chinook type rating this spring.
In terms of actually flying them and hovering, they're incredibly stable platforms. So it didn't take much work to adapt to it. You have to be careful to be very smooth on the controls and not sit and jockey it, because any movement you make, it's just all over the place. So you have to be very steady. But beyond that, they're easy.
And when she's not flying large helicopters, she still enjoys flying small GA airplanes.
Just the day before last, my dad and I flew our 180 up to get breakfast here in a nearby town, so we try to do as much of it as we can. I personally think smaller airplanes are more fun than bigger ones. I just have a ball.
Ashley is currently taking a break from firefighting, and she just started her freshman year at Rocky Mountain College in Montana studying accounting.
So it's very important to me to have a plan B. So that's kind of my reasoning behind accounting, even though it's definitely kind of out of left field. I've gotten a lot of comments about that, actually. Down the road, I definitely want to stay in aviation.
And Ashley's advice for those who want to follow in her footsteps?
That it's going to be a lot of hard work, and you have to be willing to put into the legwork to get to where you want to go, but it's worth it.
Jennifer Nahn, AOPA Live.
Wow, what a teenager. Flies heavy helicopters, fixed wing, and a college student as well. That's amazing.
Yeah, she has her act together. I'd love to meet her in person someday. And something that didn't come out in the video, but she's also has a type rating single pilot and a CJ.
That's right. And that alone is a big accomplishment for just about anybody.
Yeah.
Well, hey, they did it. A group of volunteer pilots recreated the first transcontinental airmail delivery starting on Long Island, and 4 days later, delivering some 4,700 postcards to San Francisco's postmaster on Marina Green, where that first airmail pilot landed 100 years ago. And like the pilots of old, today's airmail aviators had to overcome some obstacles.
All the other legs were flown, right? And I thought, oh no, we're going to have to drive ours because of the wildfires and the smoke, and clear it up enough that where it wasn't so bad to fly in. It was still IFR, but wasn't choking. Thick, annoying smoke to go through.
John picked up the mailbag in Carson City, Nevada, and was supposed to fly it to Sacramento. But the smoke prevented him from landing, so he flew the next leg as well onto the San Francisco area. 14 pilots, 2,400 miles, countless more volunteers, an impressive effort to mark the 100th anniversary of U.S. airmail operation. And volunteer pilots are about to take off on another series of flights, this one to honor the medical professionals on the front line of the coronavirus pandemic. The 50-state relay begins September 24th in San Diego. Pilots will carry a commemorative flag and torch to Washington, D.C. They'll be on display on October 30th at the end of the flights. It's called America's Operation Thank You, the Relay in the Sky. You can read more about it on the Spirit of Liberty Foundation website, and you can sign up to fly a leg of the 5-week coast-to-coast trip journey there as well.
Well, and how about this? A King Air 350i in orange. Charter operator Wheels Up unveiled the aircraft this week. The orange plane is part of Wheels Up Cares and Meals Up initiatives, and it honors Feeding America's Hunger Action Month. Meals Up started in March to help feed people who've been hurt by the coronavirus pandemic, and Textron Aviation also contributed to the effort. And a tiny bit of good pandemic news for Textron and Piper as well. The companies have sold more Cessna 172 and Piper PA-28 models this year than last year. That thanks to big orders from flight schools. But that's about the only good news in the General Aviation Manufacturers Association quarterly report of new aircraft shipments. To no great surprise, the numbers of new aircraft rolling out of the factories are down anywhere from 13% for piston aircraft to 27% for business jets.
And supersonic business jet company Aerion is making progress on their AS-2 jet. The design is now undergoing wind tunnel testing. The company also just announced that the fly-by-wire flight controls will be designed by BAE Systems and the flight deck implemented by Honeywell. Aerion's goal is to create an 8 to 10 passenger business jet with a max cruise speed of, get this, Mach 1.4 or around 900 knots, burning synthetic fuel. The company plans to start production in 2023 at their headquarters in Melbourne, Florida.
Ampere just completed a test flight with their second hybrid electric prototype. You may recognize it as a modified Cessna 337 Skymaster. The rear Continental engine was replaced with Ampere's electric propulsion system. The first Ampere 337 took flight in June 2019, and this second airplane will be delivered to Hawaii, where it will do demonstration flights for Ampere and Mokulele Airlines. Ampere says their configuration can reduce operating costs and emissions by, get this, 40 to 50% compared to a traditional airplane. And the recently certified Pipistrel Velis electric aircraft is claiming 7 new world records. A group of European enthusiasts flew a Velis from Zurich to the North Sea, and along the way they broke records for electric aircraft, including highest altitude, fastest speed, and lowest energy consumption. Now, because there aren't any charging stations along the route, a ground crew had to race ahead of the aircraft with a mobile charging station. Still, it's a glimpse of what the future might hold for electric aircraft.
And while that may be the future, we're going back in time next week when dozens of World War II aircraft will converge over Washington, D.C. to honor World War II veterans in the Arsenal of Democracy flyover. The flyover will take place next Friday, September 25th, starting at 11:30 a.m. The event was originally scheduled for May, but was postponed due to the coronavirus pandemic. The aerial parade will feature over 20 different aircraft types that all played different roles in the war. And we'll be there to cover the event. You can find the details about the flight path on the Arsenal of Democracy website. Now, we all know that general aviation serves America, but it often fills logistical gaps that airlines just can't. AOPA Live's Paul Harrop shows us how that can make all the difference for one of our nation's true heroes.
Can you see by the dawn's early...
It's a stirring ceremony on September 11th. Families of fallen service members are gathered in a field outside Lovettsville, Virginia.
What is so impactful today is that we are honoring those who made the ultimate sacrifice, but also their families that they love so dearly.
A monument to those Gold Star families being dedicated.
To Lovettsville, Virginia, Gold Star Families Memorial Monument.
And a logistical feat to get the keynote speaker from a previous event in West Virginia to this one on time. The means, a volunteered twin Bonanza into Frederick, Maryland. The passenger, an American hero.
We have an opportunity to donate our time, donate our aircraft to a truly American treasure, American hero.
The last sole surviving Medal of Honor recipient from World War II. Thank you, sir, for your service and your sacrifice.
Woody Williams served in the Marines during World War II. He fought on Iwo Jima.
As a demolition sergeant, also known as a flamethrower operator, otherwise a badass in every sense of the word.
He was awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions on that island, but it's his service sense that brings him here today.
And I said, we need to do something to recognize those sacrifices.
He started a foundation that helps communities erect Gold Star monuments around the country.
I think it's sort of inbred in all of us that we like to serve or do something for somebody else, because there is a feeling, a sensation that you get out of that you don't get anywhere else in any other way. And I think anytime that we can do something for somebody else, we do get a kick out of it.
But to be there for these families, he has to get here. Twin Bonanza partners Chris White and Doug Olmstead donate their time and airplane to fill the gaps the airlines just can't cover.
And for us to be able to use an airplane to do that, and to get him places he needs to go where he otherwise would not be able to, is just kind of icing on the cake for us.
Woody has sat down with multiple presidents of the United States. He has sat down with business leaders from around the world, community leaders from around the world, and to have an opportunity, just one-on-one time with him when it's just us and him and our aircraft flying across the country to amazing patriotic events like this, it's just undescribable.
They can pick me up at places that the big airlines couldn't do. So then it's easier. You don't have to go through all the checks.
But it's not about Woody or a rare Beechcraft model. It's all about service. Serving those who still serve. Serving families forever in service to our nation.
So, Lord, we would ask that you would bless this monument today. Amen.
In Lovettsville, Virginia, Paul Harrop, AOPA Live.
You can learn more about Woody and how you can help make these monuments happen on the Herschel Woody Williams Medal of Honor Foundation website. Their goal? Bring them to all 50 states and Washington, D.C., where Woody would point out that there is currently no monument to Gold Star families. Amazing. Isn't that very impressive, Alyssa? He is 97 years old. He's on the road 340 days a year in support of this program.
Yeah,
Impressive.
It's what great service he did for our country, and now, you know, honoring his fellow servicemen who made the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Great to see it. Thanks, Paul, for that story.
Coming up after the break, we talk to hunter, outdoorsman, and pilot Nick Hoffman.
And take a look at the gear used on AOPA photo missions. We'll be right back.
Your plane is a valuable tool. With the Genesis Aerosystems STEC 3100 digital autopilot, you can rest assured you will arrive safely to your destination. The 3100 is the industry's most advanced autopilot for single and twin-engine aircraft.
Welcome back. Last week, Season 5 of Nick's Wild Ride debuted on the Outdoor Channel. Now, if you're a hunter, outdoors person, you probably know about the show. And if you're a die-hard country music or bluegrass fan, you know fiddler Nick Hoffman. But what you may not know is that Nick is also a passionate pilot. I had the chance to chat with Nick about flying and music a few weeks back in Wisconsin. So Nick, how is it that a kid from Anoka, Minnesota, ends up as a pilot, adventurer, a musician, and all these wild things. How'd you get from there to here?
Man, that's a long story, you know, but I think it all starts with my upbringing. I mean, my dad and my grandpa are the first things that come to mind. They're both kind of Renaissance men. You know, my dad, they're both engineers, both engineer-minded kind of people. My grandpa was an engineer. My dad is like an engineer-minded kind of guy, and he was always really, really obsessed with aviation. So growing up, for me, the pilot side of things came from him, but also my dad was always building something or doing something or going on a trip. We were always RVing. We were always traveling. We were always doing something. And I think my dad always inspired this kind of sense of wonder in me and sense of wanderlust a little bit.
Right.
You know, as a kid who all I ever wanted to do is play music, I always was really, really interested in the outdoors. And so this idea that I'd have an outdoor TV show, I'd have laughed in your face. I never saw that coming, never in a million years. So for me, it was always about music, and hunting was something I did for fun.
Right.
And so this TV show thing was a foreign idea, really. Same thing with this new aviation show that I'm working on. I mean, I tend to take my hobbies and turn them into professions, you know, because this new show I'm really excited about is the same thing. I'm taking my love of aviation and kind of turning it into a show.
What's the intersection between the adventure part and the creative musician part and the aviation part?
That's a good question. You know, I think the intersection is passion. I don't tend to do anything half-assed. You know, I tend to do things with gusto and passion, you know, and that goes for my music and my music career, my songwriting and everything. It transfers into my love of the outdoors, and I attack that with a lot of gusto. And the same thing with aviation. You know, I love it. I live the lifestyle, and so I think the intersection of all those things is just genuinely my passion for them.
Yeah. You can see more of that interview on AOPAlive.org or our YouTube channel. And yes, you did hear that. He's working on a new show about flying. More to come later. Oh, and one more thing. I asked Nick to sing us a song about flying, and he composed one on the spot. Want to hear it? Well, keep watching. We'll have it for you later. So, Alyssa, we had a great weekend out doing some flying with a bunch of really fun people. And Nick, a real pleasure to meet him. He is just definitely a passionate pilot and a real outdoorsman and fun to be with.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear the song. Yeah. Well, adaptability and perseverance. Those are the keys to success in aviation. That was the message AOPA President Mark Baker delivered to the graduating class of the California Aeronautical University this weekend. Many of the 36 grads are headed for regional airline cockpits.
One thing I've learned through watching the stock market is that after every big crash, there's even a bigger recovery. That's why you'll never get out of this game. You keep going. You make a plan and follow it through. You'll be more likely to come out on top. That perseverance is more important than ever. To be successful in business, and in aviation, most importantly in life, you need to be able to adapt. You need to be able to persevere. You need to be able to change your flight plan and find that smooth air. Look at each setback as a learning opportunity.
Mark delivered the address via video. He said that the class had persevered through the pandemic, showing that they had what it takes to succeed.
Air Safety Institute just released a new There I Was podcast. The episode recounts the story of how pilot Lauren Kopsing safely handled a bird strike at night in an Aviat Husky.
The bird that hit me came through the front windshield high and took the roof out. The Huskies got plexiglass on the roof too, and took that out, and then it blew the left windows out. Then hit the bottom of the flap and cut it and hit the tail.
Welcome to another edition of There I Was, a podcast where we put you in the cockpit with pilots in interesting situations, and we learn how they flew out of them.
You can find the podcast on the AOPA website or on your favorite podcast app. And hey, if you fly a Husky, there's a new airworthiness directive you should know about. The AD took effect September 1st, and it's required repetitive inspections of the forward horizontal stabilizer support assembly and the horizontal stabilizer support tube on some Husky models. The AD comes after reports of fatigue failures on those components.
And the FAA is looking into rudder failures on certain models of older Piper single-engine airplanes like Super Cruisers and Super Cubs. The FAA is asking owners for information about any known rudder failures. The request comes through an airworthiness concern sheet after a PA-12 Super Cruiser accident involving a rudder failure. In the accident, the upper part of the rudder folded over. You can find more information about how to respond to the request on our website.
Last week we shared with you the story of John Humbird and his Zenith CH-701 that he flies off his farm in Tennessee. This week John sent us some more video. He flew in the Arkansas Ozark Backwoods Challenge. It's a short field takeoff and landing competition in Ozark, Arkansas. John flew the challenging timed course with multiple runways against some tough competition and came in 4th place. Congratulations, John.
That's right. Congratulations. Well, a few weeks ago, we took you behind the scenes of an AOPA photo flight. This week, AOPA senior photographer Chris Rose shares some more details about what goes into making the beautiful images in AOPA Pilot magazine.
Yeah, so we've just finished our pre-flight briefing where we've talked about safety procedures and frequencies and things like that. So everyone is aware of what we're going to do and where we're going to be doing it tonight. We've got our subject planes. They're getting ready right now, but we're prepping our photo platform. This is a Beechcraft Bonanza A36, and as you can see, we've removed the double doors on the side, which provides a pretty good space for the photographer to shoot out of. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to remove all the parts inside the aircraft that could possibly come loose in flight. We don't obviously want that to happen. These aircraft are actually allowed to fly without the doors off. We're well within our regulations. First thing that we do is we set up a harness, a hard point that the photographer can connect into. He's going to be wearing a harness like this. This is kind of an industrial type harness. We've got an emergency knife on this harness so that if we were in a situation where we had to get out of the aircraft really quickly on the ground, we could cut our way out of the harness. Just to keep the cameras inside the airplane, these will clip into a point on the camera, keep any cameras from exiting the aircraft, and that's about it. Once we get all this in, we'll check it over one more time, then the photographer will get on board. He'll be using a headset like this. This is a headset that you see a lot of people that fly open cockpit airplanes, and he'll plug into the comms on the aircraft so that he can talk with the pilot. Between that and using hand signals, he'll direct the aircraft in the air once he gets airborne. This is the basic setup that I use for air-to-air photography. This is a 1DX Mark I and this is a 1DX Mark II. Primary lenses that I use for air-to-air photography are the 70-200. I also use a circular polarizer on it. I prefer Heliopan and B&W are kind of two brands that I like to use. But I always keep a circular polarizer on for air-to-air photography. And then we're going to set that camera up for shutter priority. The aircraft we're shooting today is a two-bladed prop, so we need to slow down the shutter speed enough that each blade of the prop is making a 180-degree arc so we get that nice full prop disc. So I'm going to start off probably shooting at probably about an 80th of a second, and then I'll dial that up if I think I can get away with it. But as soon as I start to see that prop breaking, then I'll dial it down a little bit and slow down the shutter speed. You know, the slower the shutter speed, the nicer you're going to get that big prop disc. You're also going to be obviously subject to some vibration. The other lens that I'll use a lot is this is the Canon 24-105. It's an image stabilized lens. Again, circular polarizer. This is the Heliopan. And I will take both bodies with me. Don't like to change lenses in the air simply because there's a lot of dust and debris that gets moving around back there. So I try to keep the lenses fixed to the bodies and not switch those out mid-flight. And of course I carry a multitude of cards with me because we'll need to switch those out. So as I mentioned before, AOPA's primary photography platform that we use most of the time is the A36 Bonanza. It's a great platform. It covers a broad range of aircraft that we can shoot from it. Everything from small single-engine aircraft all the way up through business jets. But sometimes we need a different platform that can fly a little bit slower, or if it's unusually cold outside, and we want to protect the photographer and the rest of the crew. We also have at our disposal a Cessna 182. This is a little bit different than sort of your off-the-shelf 182s because you can see we've had these custom windows built in the side, and they're pretty simple. All you have to do is get in here and just open the windows up, and we can shoot both from this side and from the other side, and it makes for a really capable photography platform also.
And if you want to hear more from senior photographer Chris Rose, he just had an in-depth conversation with Social Flight about air-to-air photography. You can find it on the Social Flight YouTube channel.
And finally, a new song about flying. As I mentioned earlier, I asked Nick Hoffman to sing a flying song for us, so he just went out and composed a new one in about 45 minutes or so. Here it is. Take a listen.
Stare up at the clouds and imagine I could fly from my little town. When I was 17, my feet finally left the ground. Church up in the air, and I felt like I'd been found. There's just something about the sky, the way it makes me feel alive. Up there I'm truly free, as close to God as I can be. Runways, wings, and gasoline. Up there I'm truly free, as close to God as I can be. Runways, wings, and gasoline. Runways, wings, and gasoline.
Thanks, Nick. Be sure to check out Nick's Wild Ride on the Outdoor Channel. So, Alyssa, once again, he's such a talented guy. I was just really impressed by all that he was able to do.
Yeah, love the song.
Yeah, it's great. Hey, thanks for being with us this week. Next week, we'll be reporting from outside D.C. just before the Arsenal of Democracy flyover.
And if you have any thoughts on the show, send them to the address on your screen. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. We'll see you next week.
My name is Terry Carbonell. I live in the Florida Keys on a private airstrip called Tavernero. What I fly is a 182 RG. Wild Mama is her name, 614 Whiskey Mike. You know, SiriusXM is just the best product out there. I fly in the mountains a lot, and ADS-B is a line of sight. You can't get ADS-B, you have big gaps in the mountains, and that's, gosh, when would you want to have good weather is in the mountains. I like to fly low. I've flown across the United States at 1,000 feet AGL because it's all about scenery. You can't always get ADS-B when you're at 1,000 feet, but I always have SiriusXM weather and radio. SiriusXM radio is on 24/7 when I'm in the plane. SiriusXM weather just keeps you out of trouble. It's certainly avoiding bad memories. It's nothing like having reliable weather service in the cockpit.